The Roman war machine was the most formidable military force the ancient world had ever seen. Its success was built not just on superior tactics and discipline, but on a logistical marvel that kept tens of thousands of legionaries fed, watered, and equipped across vast distances. Yet even the most perfect machine could be brought to a grinding halt by a single, terrifying word: siege. A siege was the ultimate test of endurance, a brutal waiting game where the enemy was not a man, but hunger itself. When the food supply ran out, the legendary discipline of the Roman legionary was pushed to the absolute breaking point. This is the story of how the soldiers of the empire survived the impossible, resorting to measures that ranged from ingenious rationing to the truly desperate and horrifying. To understand the crisis of a siege, we must first understand the standard Roman military diet. The legionary was, at his core, a man of grain. His daily ration, the annona, was a massive portion, typically around 3 pounds of wheat. This was a caloric powerhouse designed to fuel a man who marched 20 miles a day under a 60-pound pack. The wheat was the foundation of their survival, usually ground into flour to make panis militaris, a hard, durable bread, or boiled into pulse, a thick porridge. The rest of the diet was functional: legumes for protein, salted pork when available, and a sour wine vinegar mixture called posca for hydration and to prevent waterborne diseases. This diet was robust, but it was designed for a mobile army with a functioning supply line. When that line was severed, the entire system collapsed. The moment a siege began, the first and most critical action was not to fight, but to ration. The legionaries' training, which emphasized strict obedience and communal living in the contubernum, now became their greatest asset. The commander, or legatus, would immediately take control of all remaining provisions. The 3-pound daily ration would be cut, first to 2 pounds, then to 1, and eventually to a mere handful of grain. This was a calculated risk to extend the garrison's endurance, balancing survival with the need to maintain a force capable of fighting. Discipline was paramount. Any soldier caught hoarding food faced the harshest penalties, because a single selfish act could doom the entire garrison. As the grain dwindled, the legionaries turned to every imaginable source of sustenance within the walls of their fort or the besieged city. They became expert foragers. Any animal, no matter how small or unappetizing, was fair game. Rats, mice, and stray dogs were hunted and consumed. They would systematically strip the surrounding area of any edible plant life, digging for roots and boiling weeds and grasses that would normally be ignored. The botanical knowledge of the average legionary became invaluable for identifying wild greens that could stave off starvation, off scurvy and other deficiency diseases. The Roman army was also famously resourceful with its equipment. When the last of the grain was gone, the men turned to their leather gear. The tough, boiled leather of shields, belts, and sandals was softened, scraped clean, and then boiled or roasted to create a gelatinous, if nutritionally sparse, meal. This was a common, desperate measure in sieges across the ancient world, a testament to the fact that a soldier's gear was literally his last meal ticket. The leather, primarily made from cowhide, contained collagen, which, when boiled down, offered a temporary, albeit disgusting, reprieve from the gnawing hunger. However, even these extreme measures could only delay the inevitable. History provides us with chilling examples of Roman sieges that descended into true horror. One of the most famous examples, and one with extensive visual resources, perfectly illustrates the Roman strategy of starvation: the Siege of Alesia in 52 BC. At Alesia, Julius Caesar did not just besiege the Gallic chieftain Vercingetorix, he built 2 massive rings of fortifications. The inner contravallation kept the Gauls trapped, and the outer circumvallation kept a massive Gallic relief army out. When the food ran out inside the fortress, Vercingetorix expelled the non-combatants, the women, children, and elderly, hoping Caesar would let them pass. Caesar, with ruthless pragmatism, refused. He would not allow them to pass through his lines, nor would he allow them back into the fortress. Trapped in the no-man's land between the two armies, they starved to death, a grim, visible warning to the defenders inside. Caesar's legionaries, though well supplied, were witnesses to the horrific power of starvation as a weapon, a power they knew could be turned against them at any time. The psychological toll of starvation was arguably worse than the physical pain. As hunger consumed the body, it also consumed the mind. Morale would plummet, and the tight bonds of the contubernium would fray. Soldiers would suffer from hallucinations, paranoia, and a complete breakdown of discipline. The Roman historian Vegetius, writing in his work De Re Militari, stressed, "A commander's greatest duty was to ensure the supply of provisions, because an army that is starving is an army that is on the brink of mutiny." He famously stated that the main and principal point in war is to secure plenty of provisions and to destroy the enemy by famine. Yet, in many cases, the legionaries held the line. Their survival was often a matter of engineering and logistics, the very things that defined the Roman army. In a prolonged siege, the legionaries would immediately set about securing their water supply. They would dig deep wells, often within the confines of the fort or city walls, to secure water, a resource often more vital than food. Critical than food. The ability to dig a well quickly and efficiently was a standard part of Roman military engineering. The ultimate Roman survival tactic, however, was the counterattack. The legionary was trained to fight, not to starve. When the situation became truly hopeless, when the choice was between dying of hunger or dying in battle, the Roman commander would often choose the latter. A sudden, desperate sally from the gates, a final, ferocious charge against the besiegers, was a gamble that sometimes paid off. If they could break the enemy lines, they could seize their supply train and turn the tables. Even if they failed, they died as soldiers, not as emaciated victims of famine. This final, desperate act was often a matter of honor, a refusal to submit to the slow, humiliating death of starvation. The survival of a Roman legionary during a siege was a complex tapestry woven from discipline, resourcefulness, and sheer, brutal will. It was a testament to the fact that the Roman army was not just a collection of men, but a highly organized, self-sustaining system designed to endure. When the grain ran out, they ate their leather. When the leather was gone, they ate the unmentionable. And when all else failed, they fixed their gaze on the enemy and chose to fight their way out. The siege was a crucible, and the men who survived did so by acting decisively, risking everything to live rather than waiting to die.